This is video, oops, hold on, completing the square, 4.7.1. You need this worksheet to take these notes. Make sure you get this worksheet from me. So we're following this flow chart. I've made these flow charts for you to help you and remember all of the steps in this process, the steps of completing the square to solve a quadratic equation. All right. Step 1, here in the box, look at the equation. Are the x squares and the x on the same side of the equation and the constants on the other? All right. So here's my x squared term. Here's my x. This one's the constant. So it's telling us we want the constant on the other side of the equation. Okay. Is that true? No, it's not. The constant's on the same side of the equal sign as x squared and x. So I'm going to follow my flow chart this way to no. If it's no, then rewrite your equation so that x squared and x are on one side and the constant's on the other. Okay? So that means I have to get this 1 to the other side of the equation. I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, which gives me x squared minus 10x equals negative 1. And then my arrow is pointing this way. Okay. Step 2, determine the a, the coefficient of the x squared term. So here my a is 1. Okay. All right. Is a positive 1? Yes, it is. I can move straight down. Step 3. Rewrite the equation, but add a blank space to each side. So I'm taking this equation back from this step here, and I'm going to rewrite it, and it's asking me to put a blank space, add a blank space to both sides. So I'm putting my blank space here on the left-hand side of the equation. I've got negative 1 on the right, and I'm adding a blank space to the right side of the equation. And then below that it says determine b, the coefficient of the x term. So b is negative 10. All right, so following my arrows down, okay, calculate half of b squared. We call that the box, all right? So I'm taking my b, in this case it's negative 10, I'm putting it into the formula, and then I'm simplifying this formula. So negative 10 over 2 gives me negative 5. Negative 5 squared is 25. All right, so now I'm coming up to step 5 box. Step 5, add the final number from the box into the blank. So I'm going back to this equation, and where the blank is, I'm putting the box number. The box number was 25. So I have x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals negative 1 plus 25. All right, so step 6, rewrite the quadratic side as x plus b over, let's not get too complicated about that. This is a factoring step, okay? And because we set this problem up in a specific way called completing the square, this is what's called a perfect square trinomial, which means it follows a very easy pattern to factor, okay? You could use Easy AC to factor this, but there's an easier way to do that. Here's how you do it. You take the square root of the first term, so x squared, and its square root is x. The sign of the middle term, so this is a negative, and then the square root of the last term, so the square root of 25 is 5. You close the parentheses and you square it, okay? And again, that's the same factor I would get if I did Easy AC, all right? But because this is a perfect square trinomial, you just take the square root of the first, the square root of the last, the sign of the middle. Very easy. On the right-hand side of this equation, I am going to combine my like terms, so negative 1 plus 25 gives me 24. Step 7, going down. Step 7 is square root both sides. So I'm solving for x now, taking the square root of both sides. Okay, so the square root undoes the square. Positive and negative, square root of 24. I want this in simplest form before I move on. Okay? So a 4 is a factor of 24. That's a perfect square. So I'm going to rewrite as square root of 4 times square root of 6. And then the square root of 4 is 2. All right. And then step 8 is solve for x. So I have to get x all by itself. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. All right. So my final answer will be x equals 5 plus or minus 2 square root of 6. All right. That's it.